Hey friends, I hope you're having a great day. This video idea, I'm so excited about it. It just kind of popped into my head a couple weeks ago and I asked on Instagram, are there any specific makeup products that your mom swears by? And the response to this was huge. Like, it took me a long time to go through all the comments and I really kept track of those things that I was hearing feedback on again and again. And those are the things that I'm going to be doing a full face of today. Yes, your mom's favorites. Even in some very short comments, I was able to get a lot of wisdom from you guys through this. I love how there was sometimes a tone of, this is the way my grandma did it, and therefore through the generations we have kept doing it this way. Or there were responses where, this is what my mom does, I think she's absolutely crazy for it. So there's a lot of interesting things to discuss for this one. But talking about skincare first, I have nothing on my skin. I am going to be using something I got here. This is the Olay Active Hydrating Beauty Fluid Lotion Original, the pink lotion, as some of you may remember it. And there were many mentions of this specifically and also Olay in general for skincare. A few other popular mentions were Noxzema, Pond's Cold Cream, and Vaseline. And I'm talking mentions of Vaseline like it's a facial moisturizer. I'm not sure about that. But Olay had a lot of mentions. I thought it was interesting that this specific one was talked about. It is one of the cheapest things you can get from Olay's line. And it's like a really, really light pink moisturizer. Feels pretty thin, but let's go ahead and pop that on. Oh, it's got that fragrance. I once upon a time used this. I remember my mom using the Olay Complete that had the sunscreen in it. And I think that may have been one of the first like skincare moisturizer type things I ever got. And at some point I must have had this because I do remember that smell, or maybe I just remember it from other kinds of Olay products. I thought the texture was kind of thin, but I feel really moisturized. Like, that really went there. Okay. I know the real hardcore recommendations came from people not just calling this brand Olay, but calling it Oil of Olay, right? That's what it really was. And in terms of makeup, general brand mentions that I was just keeping track of, like if people didn't maybe give me a specific product, but they were like, my mom uses everything from this brand. Like, there was so much 100% brand loyalty mentioned here, which I found fascinating. So the brands that were really mentioned where that was concerned were Clinique and taking advantage of free gifts. So many mentions of moms making sure they get the free gifts. Mary Kay, CoverGirl, Merle Norman, and Lancome. Those were the brands where somebody may have said many times over, like, my mom uses this brand and this brand only. And I feel like we see really none of that, you know, on YouTube. I mean, if you're seeing a YouTuber, it's like they're using some from this, some from that. There tends to be a real fusion of all kinds of brands. I can't imagine just sticking to one. However, when you think of things like Mary Kay, you know, you might have somebody in the family selling it, and then you're gonna buy all that kind of stuff and you're gonna stay real loyal to it perhaps. But makeup counters too. It's like maybe the moms are just more interested in being outfitted with an entire routine and not having to pick and choose through a bunch of things. But I just think that this social media world that many of us are in, you know, we're seeing everybody using everything and it's causing us to want this product over here and that product over there. And maybe the less exposed to that some people may be, the more willing they are to just stay in their lane. I would love to hear your thoughts on 100% brand loyalty in the comments section and why you think some people are still very brand loyal to one specific brand. It fascinates me. But we gotta start with the primer here. And primer was not a frequently mentioned thing on here. The big mentions were foundation, blush was mentioned quite a bit, certain lip colors, oh, and mascara. That was a huge one. Other products like primer, I really had to look for some responses there, but I did see more than a few for Benefit Professional. And I have this hydrating version, which, you know, if your skin is feeling a little more on the dry side, this is a nice primer. It's very, very smooth. I prefer it so much over the regular Professional, which, you know, can be worked into the skin, but it's a bit more like dry and puffy and moussey feeling, and this one just feels like it's offering your skin something back. So I just get that spread all over. I just like the way it spreads. I feel like it actually does do something when I look back on like the pores around my nose, so it's a goodie. I was officially compiling all these responses last night, and I was so jazzed up about this video. I wanted to like get up here and shoot it right now. I love this. Okay. Foundation. There were several at the top that were frequently mentioned. One was Bare Minerals Original Foundation. That was kind of another brand that was up there with my mom uses everything from this line. Bare Minerals, Estee Lauder Double Wear, many mentions. It Cosmetics CC Cream, and that is my mom's pick. Maybelline Superstay, or the CoverGirl Clean Makeup. There are things that maybe are just burned in our memories as children of our mothers, and I don't know, that seemed like one that people posted, and then they posted like a emoji. But the one I'm going to use today is one that I personally haven't picked up in a while, and it's my Estee Lauder Double Wear. I do love this stuff. I wear it in 3W1 Tawny, and also if you're interested in any Estee Lauder stuff, my friend David is the main makeup guy at Bergdorf Goodman in New York City, and he can hook you up with anything you may need. And he's also just wonderful to talk to and an amazing person. But I'm just going to dab some of this around, y'all. And I think it's great that your moms are enjoying this. I think this one has really spanned some generations. You hear talk about it on YouTube and other social media, but it's one of those super long-standing products, and I think for good reason. So I'm going to be putting this on with my Real Techniques RT Go brush. And look at the coverage here. This is the traditional one. I also love the water weight one. I think that's one of the best thin foundations out there. Like I would say Catrice HD Liquid Coverage for matte finish, more coverage. But if you just want the thin, you still want it to do something on your skin, but be really light and a little more on the nourishing side. I really like that version of Double Wear. I've also in the past used the Maximum Cover, which will work wonders on your melasma, any major discoloration on the skin. But this is good old standard Double Wear, and it does wear wonderfully well. I mean, it's a very practical pick. I noticed a lot of that kinds of products or descriptions of different products that made me realize how practical your mom must be with her makeup choices. But I'm a Double Wear fan for sure. I think it always makes my skin look super even, great coverage. It's not the fullest of the full, but like I said, there is that option within this line to go there. So yeah, it's nice to revisit that. I had some nice moisturization underneath from my Olay, or oil of Olay, I should say. And yeah, I feel really good about that. There were very few mentions about concealer, and it seems like concealer is such a front and center thing in many of our worlds, but when you're talking about what your mom uses, it apparently doesn't stand out to a lot of people to comment on that in this. But I did see mentions of stick concealers, like old school stick concealers, specifically CoverGirl Smoothers, which I do have on hand, which is not a bad product. This is a pretty smooth one. If you would have said the Maybelline Cover Stick, I would have been a little bit like, oh, we're getting kind of thick, we're getting kind of dry. But this is a pretty good option. I would say if you want to get your mom in the direction of an even more hydrating stick concealer, check out the Neutrogena Hydro Boost one. But stick concealers are a classic format for concealer, and they're very easy. Like, look, you see the problem, you draw over the problem. It's just that easy. There's not really any wonderment attached with like how much should I put on. You just kind of swipe over it once and you're good. Whereas sometimes I think with the liquidy doe foot applicator concealers, we find ourselves in a place where we want the good coverage, but we maybe don't want to feel like we have to paint it all over our face, you know? So here I have gone all over my key areas, anywhere that I want to brighten, anywhere I want to conceal. This is the shade Light, by the way. A little step up, it looks like, from my actual skin tone, but I just kind of go over it, and instead of really buffing it into the skin, I'm doing a little bit of a pressing motion here. But I think CoverGirl Smoothers is sort of like the updated version of a stick concealer. I remember many of these, like I've said before, being very dry in the past. I think the most unchanged one is, again, the Maybelline Cover Stick. But yeah, we're just kind of pressing into any darkness we have around the eye area here. To me, gang, it ain't the best, but it'll do. It's good coverage. It's maybe not maximum coverage, okay? I'm still seeing a few little things here and there, but it's good enough. Alrighty, now for powders. I expected a little more talk about powder. I feel like powder might be something that was bigger in our mom's makeup than maybe it currently is today, but there were lots of mentions of the Coty Airspun Loose Powder. I thought I had it, but I don't have it anymore, so dang it. Talk about an iconic smell, right, with a product. That one, you can find that out in Walmart these days. Yes, you can. CoverGirl's Pressed Powder powders, just the classic CoverGirl pressed powders were mentioned a lot, and also L'Oreal True Match. And L'Oreal True Match is what I'm going to use today. I really stand behind that pick, mamas out there. I think this is a great one. I think it's one of the best textured drugstore powders out there. Very smooth. There's a creaminess to it. There's a big shade range. I have it here in Buff Beige, and yeah, this is a good pick for me. You can wear it as pressed powder. You could wear it really as powder foundation, just paired with a concealer. So I'm just gonna grab my powder brush here, pick some of that up. It's a nice, soft, buttery powder. It's underrated. At times, I think I've thrown this out there when people have talked about the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder that's so popular. I'm like, you know what feels a lot like that? L'Oreal True Match. So if anybody's becoming nauseous from the smell of Coty Airspun, maybe check this out. Okay, so I've got that all over. I'm gonna have great staying power today. I've used double wear, I've set the whole face. We're gonna be so set today. Another neat thing that I found in the comments were people mentioning how their moms use nothing but like one single product, like wears no makeup but will wear lipstick, or wears nothing except only a foundation, or only a blush. The bronzer mentions, unless I was missing stuff, there was hardly anything about bronzer except somebody did mention a big Wet n Wild one that they said their mom used for absolutely everything on the face. Love that, love a multitasker, right? But I don't have one of those on hand right now, so I'm just gonna have to fill in the blanks here, and I'm gonna use my Rimmel Radiance Brick because I'm sure this one has been around for a while and is probably being used by someone out there. This is in the shade Medium. I really do like this one, actually. I feel like I talk about Hourglass bronzers as being really light and effortless, and really this kind of reminds me of that vibe. You know, I go into this one and I know it is going to show up on my skin, but yet I'm not scared of it, you know? We're going to contour a little bit, yes. Yeah, lots of comments like, my mom wears nothing but skincare. My mom wears nothing but Vaseline. I just loved how all over the place the responses really were. Okay, got a little bronzer on, giving the skin a little life there. And now, one of my favorite categories, we are moving on to blush. And my friends, CoverGirl Cheekers blush. That's my mom's pick too. I mean, I'm not sure if she's using a CoverGirl Cheekers blush right now, but back when I started makeup, that was one of the first things I even remember her hinting at me to use. Was a blush, and it was the shade called Pretty Peach. I do not have Pretty Peach on hand right now, but I do have something called Classic Pink that looks intensity-wise like Pretty Peach, only a little more pinky. But I gotta get to the specific comment here. Oh, here we go. She's not into makeup, but I'll be damned if she doesn't always have Cheekers blush. I love that. All right, some Cheekers blush coming at you in perhaps a very classic shade that your mom might have on hand right now. Okay, let's pick it up. It's been a little while since I've used this shade, so I'm not sure how hard to go after it. There we go. This is a fantastic line of blushes. That's the thing, guys. Like, if you've been sleeping on this blush, go get you some. If you can find the Instant Cheekbones version of this that has the 3 pans, please get that, because there's a fantastic highlighter shade in those, plus 2 pretty blush shades. But there's nothing wrong with Cheekers blush. You know, it's a great line. Soft Sable, if you love a little neutral vibe. Pretty Peach is a classic. There's lots of shades, just give it a chance. I saw very few mentions of anything regarding highlighter. I don't know if I saw anything about setting spray, so we're just not gonna do those steps. As far as brows, remember when I was talking about how I remembered my mom using these red pencils from Maybelline? I saw a lot of you mentioning those as well. This is a retractable one, but I was mainly referring to like an actual sharpenable pencil that was used in the brows. Now, I would be using this today, but as you may have seen me mention in a past video, this dark brown shade of this is like auburn, and it does not make sense on my face. So another response I did see was ABH Brow Wiz. It was not given as frequently as that Maybelline, but you know, it's somebody's fave out there, so we're gonna use it. And I have this in the shade dark brown. Doesn't all this kind of make you wonder, like, I'm not saying none of our moms are on social media, because I know an increasing amount of people of a certain age are getting on social media. But as a whole, it's interesting to hear about those favorites from people who may be a little less like at the core of the influencer world, you know what I mean? And these are the things that stand out to you as a son or daughter who submitted responses. And I think if we have any interest in makeup, we do take note, right? We do have those memories of what our mom used or is still using to this day. The product loyalty, the brand loyalty, that's all just really interesting to me. But ABH Brow Wiz, this would be one of those things that I see a lot of mentions of, you know, just in everyday YouTuber life. This is a favorite of many, although so many drugstore brands have created their take on it, so you really don't have to spend ABH money on a brow pencil like this. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could walk through every drugstore brand and find a skinny brow pencil with a spoolie on the other end. I'm gonna use a little clear brow gel on that. Can't wait to see what my kids say about me in the future when asked, what makeup does your mom like? She likes all of it. You know what I saw, I think, 0 mentions of? Milani eyeshadow primer. Let's be a friend to our mothers. Come on, let's recommend this stuff. Better yet, just have your mom watch this video. She may enjoy it. Okay, take the primer between 2 fingers, just a small amount all over the lids. Like you have to do this. This makes the shadow so much more effective. But there were not a lot of mentions of eyeshadow in comparison to the massive amount of mentions of things like foundation, mascara, and lip colors, except there was talk about CoverGirl eyeshadow quads, and surprisingly, there was talk about Urban Decay and the Naked palettes. I saw comments about using a Naked palette to its death, the Naked 1 and the Naked 3, but then there was a comment I loved about Naked Basics where they said they'll buy this one and buy it for all their friends, and I thought, oh, Naked Basics, you know, that's one I haven't picked up in a while. This little guy right here. It is basic as basic can be, and sometimes I think moms can, you know, bring out the practical, and this is a very practical, basic little palette. I'm gonna go for this today and just do a really classic eye look for you here. I'm going to take, let's do this Naked 2 shade. It's just like a very, very light matte taupe, and get that in the crease. I think a lot of people see the little Naked Basics, whether it's the 1, this is the classic original, or the 2, they see them as kind of a supplement palette, like a little basic grouping of shades that can be applied then to maybe some more flashy shades or whatever else you got to work with that just didn't have everything you needed. But it's basically all matte except there's a little sheen in that color there. Okay, now I'm gonna move to Faint because I need some more depth happening. I'm just gonna layer that over what I first put in the crease, and I feel like it's gonna be a smoother application because I already have a little something there. Talk about a natural shadow. I mean, there's really no warmth in this. It looks very, very natural. To my friends who are with me a lot and watching here on my channel, when was the last time you used Naked Basics? For me, it's been a long, long time. Okay, I'm adding just a little more of that shade called Faint, that second to the end, really cool brown to the outside. And I think I'm going to be patting a little bit of that on the lid too. So I'm just picking it up with a flat brush, patting it right in here. I saw a couple mentions of people saying that their mom just shops all the QVC makeup very loyally. So brands that are frequently talked about on QVC, I'm guessing It Cosmetics, Mally. Let me know if you or your mom are very like on top of what's happening on QVC. Oh, like Laura Geller, that too. I'm gonna take this WOS shade here. I believe that stands for Walk of Shame. You got Foxy here that's got a little more buttery, yellowy look, and then this one's a little cooler that I'm using. I'm just kind of patting that there on the lid. All over the lid, and then we'll take that Venus color that does have just the slightest bit of sheen and pop that around the inner corner. I love that whoever mentioned this said their mom buys it for all their friends. Okay, now a little more of Faint just to kind of overlap again. And then, you know, we do have a complete black in here that could be good for eyeliner. It could be good to just deepen up the look even more. I'm going to add a little bit of that to my outer corner. It really goes on nicely on top of these other mattes. Not a difficult black. I'll go over and blend that out just a little bit more. I'm just getting a little bit onto this brush, sticking to my outer corner, and then I flip my brush around so some goes into the crease. Now, E25, nothing on it. Just blending that around a little bit. Ooh, I like this. I mean, talk about just using the most basic shadows. A little more of that light matte. Just right in here, kind of lost it a little bit on this eye. And then I wonder about just blending out the edge a little bit with that Naked 2 color. That's kind of nice going back into skin, you know. Very, very light taupey beige. Okay. Underneath the eye, I'm going to use Faint again. That's our dark brown. A little on the outside. Why not? I know my last look was very above the eye, like bright and lifted. Here we'll make it a little different. I'm feeling it. I'm loving that look, actually. While we're talking Urban Decay, very few eyeliner mentions were made in this little survey session that I gave, but there were more than a few people talking about how their mom uses the Urban Decay 24/7 liners. So that is a pretty long-standing product, so you could be pretty loyal for that and have used it for many years now. I've got my shade here called Zero, which is the classic black, and I think I'll just use that on my upper lash line here. I was kind of surprised that more like old school liquid liners weren't mentioned. I mean, if you were answering this question, it may not have been the iconic thing that came to mind, like a foundation or a lip color, but I feel like I remember my mom for a long time using like this Maybelline waterproof liquid liner all the time. And then I think she went to Almay or maybe Revlon. Okay, there we go. There's eyeliner, no eyeliner, giving us a little more definition. Gotta say, Urban Decay was an interesting answer to find in the midst of all the Estee Lauder and the CoverGirl and the Mary Kay. But with Mary Kay, the mentions were not so much a lot of specific Mary Kay things, except the eye makeup remover. But mostly it was people saying like, my mom just uses everything Mary Kay. I just kind of smudged over my line a little bit with my finger to make it a little smoother. Sometimes you hit those spots in your lash line where it just doesn't look perfectly smooth, but there we go with that. There were a lot of kind of frustrated eye roll sort of emojis when talking about the mascara because, guys, great lash. Now we know who's keeping this product in business. It's our moms. Maybelline Great Lash. I mean, I gotta tell you, I know my mom used to use this. I remember being a kid and seeing that green and pink tube or the all pink tube or whatever, but I've gotten my mom onto Superhero now. So maybe this holiday season, you can bring your mom up a notch because this stuff is not where it's at. I am not a fan. Maybe it's working amazingly for somebody out there. But you know what David told me recently? He said, try your little black primer alongside Great Lash. And I used this fairly recently in a video, so I think I am going to make that pairing happen today. I'm going to use my Estee Lauder little black primer with this and see if we can make it better. So little black primer is really the best lash primer. You put it on and instead of being white, it's black. Duh. And you put it on and it doesn't really look like you're doing much of anything. Like it's barely there. It's just kind of a little, you think it's not much, but it is doing something. Now the Great Lash, when I was using this and I got the curved brush, which really shouldn't make any difference formula-wise, but it didn't seem as like wet and gloppy as I remember it being in the past. I mean, I always thought of this as the most like inky, wet, just a mascara that really didn't help my lashes much at all. Okay, get that little black primer all up in there. Make sure I got those inner lashes. There we go. Okay. Oh no, I got some fallout over here. It's looking a little dingy under that eye. Dang it. Might have to do something about that. Okay, now we're going back to the Great Lash. You know, I swear, a little black primer can save anything. David and I would say from dud to stud. I mean, it just gives this something to hang on to. You know, it just practically texturizes your lashes first, so they can accept the mascara. And I just dabbed it on my eyelid. Dang it, I'm getting too vigorous. That is what little black primer is though. It's a lash texturizer. It gives your super slick little lashes kind of a texture that pretty much any mascara that you use can grab onto. And it does really good about not making anything look chunky on top. It just looks really natural. Much better result than usual, except for all the smudges I have on my eyelids. stand by, I got some things to take care of. I had a little cleanup session there. I had to go over my smudges with a Q-tip a little bit, and then I had to replace a little eyeshadow in the crease and on the lid. Like, just crazy. How did I get that out of hand? But the eye look is done, and I do like it, and yes, little black primer can help anything. As far as lip color goes, a lot of entertaining responses here. There were a lot of mentions of Revlon lipsticks, a lot of mentions of Clinique Black Honey, and also quite a bit of talk about CoverGirl Outlast, and that was my plan to use my mom's favorite for one of these, and that's what I'm gonna do here. I found a shade in my collection. It's 538. I'll have to look up what that translates to in shade names, but this looks like a color she has worn. The type of shade, you know, kind of that pink, but maybe a little deeper pink. But there are just a lot of references to the fact that, you know, this doesn't smudge off. It lasts all day. It's got that comfortable top coat. I mean, it's the liquid lipstick that really is a good one, a good pick out there. I love the universal nude shade of this, by the way. Yeah, because they figured out how you can wear a balm with it. It actually helps the staying power instead of watering it down. Like a balm on top of most liquid lipsticks would just cause it to melt down, right? I feel like the color my mom uses, I mean, this looks a lot like something I've seen her in, but I think she mentioned the word papaya before. Okay, there we go. Now you're gonna let that totally dry, and then we put our balm on. I'm sorry, but look at the lashes, guys. I am feeling really good about the way those lashes ended up. Wow. While we wait for the lips to dry, I'll share a few other general nuggets of wisdom. There were lots of mentions of red lipstick. Also, lipstick as blush to save money. Surprised at the amount of mentions of lipstick used as blush. And also, blush all over the face. Like blush as everything. Blushes on the eyes, on the cheeks, on the forehead. Like, it was kind of funny. But guys, I would love to keep this conversation going down in the comments section. I'm sure it's caused you to think, if you didn't get to give a response to this question, you know, what things does your mom use? What does she love? What are the things that you've learned about through her? Do you feel like you see in your family like a generational use of certain brands or certain products like the oil of Olay and whatnot? Okay, I think that's gotten all nice and dry. Now you just take this clear balm and put it over the top, and you will have shine, but this will go nowhere. Feels great. Nothing wears like CoverGirl Outlast, I gotta say. It is hardcore. And the balm, if you keep applying the balm throughout the day, that's what keeps you in the game here, okay? There's my full face of makeup your mom loves. Thank you so much for contributing your responses to this one, guys. I mean, what's your favorite part of this look? Did you gain any nuggets of wisdom here? I knew I loved Estee Lauder Double Wear. I am kind of surprised at how much I'm loving this highlighterless look, actually. Like, I feel like I've got a little glow on the cheeks, but there was no highlighter. I guess there was a little glow in the bronzer, but the blush was matte. How are the cheeks still glowing like this? I'm not sure. This very cool, like really grayish looking eye, you know, as that very cool brown merges with the light shade, it really comes off as a gray type of look. It's making me want to fall into those gray tones all over again. The moms are kind of right out there. They got a lot of good ideas. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you'll share this video with your mom, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.